10. 10 is the number of this podcast. A nice, easy number, easy to add, easy to multiply as you think about your growing retirement portfolio. But it's also a key planning number for retirement. Greg Shepard, why is 10 so important, especially for people with TIAA investments?
Right, good question. And it reminds me of a quick story. I ran into this situation, this scenario yesterday, and the individual I was speaking to, we were devising a game plan. He was late 60s, maybe 70 years old, obviously looking to retire. And after we devised a game plan, I don't know the correct term, just reiterated over and over that he wished he had found me or someone like me 10 years ago to really just create a game plan. Because a lot of the things that we were forced to implement didn't need to be implemented if he and everybody else had just sat down, not procrastinated, and just thought about their situation for a few minutes, which we'll dive into this a little bit. But this industry of higher ed and other folks as well, not just higher ed, but they're so wrapped up in their world, not in a bad way, that they ignore, and sometimes that's a good thing, but they just ignore their retirement until it's too late. TIAA is a different animal. TIAA is a different animal. You do have to prepare. I'd say at least 10 years prior.
Right. Well, what actions are you talking about 10 years prior? I mean, that this poor guy didn't do.
Yeah, so this guy, he was fine, but I tell you what, he's an anomaly in the sense that a lot of folks that I run into in this situation aren't. You need to, again, take a step back and understand the liquidity and illiquidity aspects of one investment that 9 out of 10 folks over at TIAA have, and that's traditional. We will talk about this endlessly throughout all of our episodes. But a lot of folks enter traditional because it's a guaranteed, I'm using air quotes here, guaranteed fixed account that, if you're not careful, can back up on you when you're trying to put together a game plan 6 months, 1 year down prior to retirement. Okay, and we're going to get into all kinds of scenarios and strategies on future episodes, but I can't emphasize enough. You have to, TIAA is a different animal. You have to prepare 10 years out. Okay, and I can elaborate a little bit more on that if we
sure go right ahead.
Choose.
I mean, I'm sure people listening want to know.
Yeah, I'll just keep the floor here then. So one thing we do is, or one question I get time and time again is how much should I have in traditional for purposes of lifetime income? That's that annuitization process, that fixed annuity that TIAA has. So I developed a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. It's not perfect. I'll be the first to admit that, but it's certainly a tool that is not afforded to you, I don't believe, anywhere else, that certainly helps you identify how much you want in traditional. So if you were afforded this or are afforded this spreadsheet, this information 10 years, 8 years prior to retirement, you can start devising these game plans to either put more money into traditional for purposes of lifetime income or start the extraction strategy of of traditional. And you can do a lot of that while you're still in service. So if you call me or even talk to TIAA a year prior, 6 months prior, you're going to be forced more times than not. You're going to be forced to do things that you ordinarily wouldn't if you just had the information. So the guy I talked to yesterday, he said there's got to be something out there, something out there that's, screaming through a megaphone exactly what I'm talking about, having to prepare 10 years. And I told him, I'm it. I'm the person. I am that person. I'm trying to do this. And he said, hey, more power to you. Just get the word out there as much as you can. Of course, and that's what we're trying to accomplish here today.
I'm still amazed that they don't have this explained to them in the beginning.
I can't, I don't know. I can't, so there's two sides of the coin to that. Obviously, I've had this conversation many, many times before. I think sometimes it is explained to them, but, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. In one ear, out the other ear. There's a number of cliches I could use here. People just procrastinate. It's kind of human nature as well. They procrastinate, and then some folks will say, "Oh yeah, I do remember somebody telling me that, a few years down the road, but I just never really conceptualized it. I didn't really realize the impact until it's too late. So, and then a lot of folks, they're just never told. They just, I've spoken about this before. Figuratively speaking, they'll sit across the table from a TIA rep, and it will never be verbalized to them the magnitude of the illiquidity in regard to that TIAA Traditional.
All right, let's get down to some of the planning then. How should someone rebalance their portfolio as they're getting closer to retirement?
Yeah, so that spreadsheet I alluded to does help navigate that conversation, because a lot of folks are just, deer in headlights as to the puzzle starts with TIAA Traditional. So the puzzle, as I call it, starts and pretty much ends with TIAA Traditional. So how you allocate your portfolio, again, you have, I'll just keep saying this, you have to start at, 10 years is probably a good starting point, 10 years prior to when you think you're going to retire. And then you start allocating, you start with traditional, and you have that piece of the pie earmarked for lifetime income if it suits you. Not everybody is on board for lifetime income for various reasons. We'll get into again in later episodes. But and also, here's something I'll try to verbalize as well. So a lot of times what we do is somebody will contact me maybe 10 years, 8 years prior to retirement, and we go through the allocation and we do a pseudo retirement plan using the spreadsheet that I have and utilizing some of the tools afforded to you through TIAA's website. And we come to the conclusion that, hey, you have $1 million+ your expenses are X. You're going to have Social Security at some point. Maybe you have a pension. So we start putting this puzzle together, and then we ask the question. I ask the question, and the participant answers eventually. Do we want lifetime income? How much lifetime income do we need for your situation? Okay. And then if the pseudo retirement plan comes back positive, meaning that the amount of income that's being driven to them from Social Security, maybe a pension, and the interest driven from a rollover IRA without touching principal, okay, it's very important. If all those sources of buckets come back, we'll say positive, so your monetary retirement plan can come to fruition, we really start ratcheting down that risk, okay? Because the goal isn't necessarily to make 20% a year, which you can do over the course of time in the stock market. But if you have enough money to retire on comfortably, do we really want that volatility, that risk associated with the markets? I mean, are we good with just chilling out and making 5-6-ish% per year? Usually the answer is yes. They could sleep better at night. Because number one worry, I guess, is that, I've got $1 million in my account, $1 million+, maybe $2 million. I want that $2 million to be $2 million when I retire. I don't want 2022 to occur, or God forbid, another, COVID type scenario right before retirement. So that goes without saying, but you have to prepare for those things. And it takes an educated, somewhat of an intelligent conversation in order to formulate that game plan. So there you have it.
Okay. It sounds to me like it is a puzzle. And coming to someone like you definitely helps people understand what that puzzle is about. Why don't you started to talk about some of the common mistakes as they look at this puzzle, or they don't look at the puzzle. One of the common mistakes sounds to me like they just don't pay attention. But then, to be honest, most of us don't.
The biggest mistake, the one that came to mind first, maybe not the biggest mistake, but the one that came to mind first is folks have too much in TIAA Traditional. So a lot of folks come to me and don't even know the liquid and illiquid contracts. Okay, now 10 out of 10, maybe, folks that come to me, you're going to have an illiquid contract, of which traditionals typically in those contracts. And again, I think I spoke about this last time. They hone in, they being the participants, hone in on that guaranteed, fixed thought process, because they're conservative investors. They don't want the volatility of the market. So they say, hey, I want all my money to go towards this investment, and then set it and forget it mentality. And so I had someone come to me, it was sometime this week. We started to do a game plan. It took me about 10 seconds because I realized that she had 98% of her portfolio in traditional. And I can't remember exactly, but a large portion of that 98% was illiquid. And it was
Oh.
in an RA contract, meaning that she really had very few options afforded to her. And so she was kind of forced into taking, I think we did 3/4 of that traditional into lifetime income. And the rest of it, we kicked it out over 10. Well, it's a 10-year TPA and not done over 9 years. But she had no idea this was her scenario until she contacted me. So too much in traditional can be a bad thing.
But I'm sure, as you say, it's fixed, it's secure. People say, yeah, let's put it in there.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've been doing this a long time, and I think a lot of guys and gals in my space, the investment side of things, would agree with me that you can utilize that traditional for the fixed income sleeve of your portfolio and get, depending upon rates at the time, because every new deposit, by the way, every new deposit each month has a different crediting rate associated with it. Like 2023, for example, remember distinctly November of 2023, we were dumping a ton of money into traditional because I think on the illiquid contract, I'll probably get corrected here, but on the RA contract, we were getting like 6.25% on new deposits going in. And that's also good for what's called a 120-day restoration rule. We'll get into that stuff later. These are strategies.
Okay.
But basically, new money going in was getting 6.25%.
That's huge.
Great.
That's nice.
Yeah, for a fixed income, for the fixed conservative sleeve of the portfolio, it's phenomenal. So what I'm getting at is that over the course of time, the stock market should, if you know what you're doing to a degree, should do better than that over the course of time. I mean, history is on my side, okay, in that regard. But you got to have that fluctuate. You got to be able to stomach that fluctuation. A lot of folks they just can't do it. They just inject their emotional responses to everyday things that we see going on the television and in the news, and they dictate their investment decisions based on an emotional reaction they see to the latest story on the news, and that's not the way to go about it. So again, that brings itself back to having too much in traditional for fear of the uncertainty around political landscape. We're not going to get into politics, but a lot of folks dictate their decisions, investment decisions, based on what they see on TV around politics. Not the way to do it. I'm telling you, not the way to do it.
All right. Let's just take a step back here. If someone is now looking at TIAA and they see the traditional and they like it, what are their other options?
Yeah. So each institution is going to be a little different. So there's not one size fits all. And they'll have various options. Now, what I tell folks, I'll try to keep this keep this somewhat short here. I'll preface by saying that each institution is unique in the sense that you may have what's called an in-service rollover provision. Meaning, if you reached age of either 59.5 or 62, defined by your plan, usually the employee money can be extracted from the retirement plan, rolled over to an IRA, penalty-free, tax-free, all that fun stuff.
Oh.
And then your choices are, for the most part, I mean, not limitless, but you have thousands of choices if you exercise that strategy. I just dealt with someone yesterday or day before. I can't remember what institution, but the only monies we could get out were the Roth monies. This, again, a different episode here. The Roth 403b monies, which is a little bit unique. But nonetheless, he had about 90 some odd thousand. Now he had a portfolio of 1.2 million. He's retiring next year. But we started this retirement phase strategy now so we could extract some of those monies because the income producing investments that we're going to get into aren't available under his retirement plan platform. So each institution will have a myriad of investments you can choose from. But if you really want to accentuate or the most advantageous strategy for you is to look into that in-service rollover if you're over 59.5 or 62, depending upon your plan. That's when, the window opens up, and that's really where your advantage really comes into play.
I hate to say this, but I think my head's going to explode, Greg.
Yep, that's why people hire me. Yep. I tell you what, I try to make it simple, but this is why I have a job. When it gets to the TIAA retirement plan, in higher education retirement plans in general, there's so many nuances associated with it, not known to the general public. And just like, what you mentioned, even the smartest of smart people, they don't do this for a living, so they get turned around a lot. And, what is it? Paralysis by analysis. It's just too much information. It's a fire hose of information, and people just turn off. And they just say, well, we're doing fine. We'll deal with it later.
All right. There's so much here. We haven't even touched on healthcare, thinking about what your healthcare costs are going to be.
Yeah. How
do you model your income needs? Talk to me about those.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I don't want as if it weren't too confusing already. So to make it simple, we're going to parse that out. So we're going to parse out these conversations. We got healthcare over here. We got obviously the retirement, monetary, financial stuff over here. And they do obviously collide when you retire, but it's not really as complicated as one may think. A lot of these universities will have portable insurance. Some of it's not as advantageous until you hit 65. Some people are retiring early. Maybe their insurance is portable. But I tell you what, the retirement planning part associated with TIAA is so complex that we table the healthcare costs until we figure out the game plan for the TIAA monies, and then incorporate the healthcare costs. Okay, obviously 65 is a big number age in that regard, but a lot of folks will have, like I said, those portable plans that can carry with you. Maybe if you're retiring early. Sometimes though, those portable plans aren't as advantageous as one may think. So we got to find other solutions in that regard, just to bridge that gap until 65.
Okay, so these are topics that you all expect to address individually in podcasts going forward, correct?
Yep. Oh yeah. All
right.
We'll hit on all of them. Get ready. Yeah.
Well, where do you see us going with the next one? This is, again, there's so much information here, and it makes sense. The problem is, it makes sense.
I think what I want to do here is, again, simplify. Like you mentioned, your head's exploding. I get that comment quite a bit. Like I said, fire hose of information. Keep it simple. And what I think my goal will be, as I talk to folks around the country in the same manner, is, again, I'll reiterate, keep it simple. So each episode, we try to focus on, like I mentioned, that 120-day restoration rule. Nobody knows what that is. So I'll give you an idea of what that means. And it might take 15, 20 minutes to really hone in on that and give folks an idea of how to implement it and when is the best time to implement it, okay? So things like the 120-day restoration rule, the 84-month SWAT, the 10-year TPA, legacy buckets of old monies going into traditional, new deposits going in, what the rates are. So there's a myriad of information that we can really hone in on. But for the sake of everyone's sanity, including mine, we'll hone in on one, maybe two topics/strategies just to keep it simple. Okay, and dangle that carrot, of course, because we want them to come back. So we might have some loose ends on some of these strategies, just so folks can come back and listen.
This is true. Well, I am glad you're doing this because I am learning so much. And I don't even have a TIAA account, but I'm learning so much. It's fascinating. Now, how can people reach you if they have questions right now?
Yeah, sure. The easiest and best way to reach me is email greg@shepardfinancial.com. Most people misspell Shepard. It's SHEPARD. Website, SA Financial. That's like Shepard and Associates, SA Financial.com. And telephone, like I said before, I give it out. No one calls me. 913-521-2381. You're a dinosaur if my phone rings, but hey, I'll answer the phone call.
Oh, yeah. You may have a couple of dinosaurs calling you. Who knows,
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
All right. Well, folks, follow this podcast. Lots of information coming your way, obviously. And when you do follow, you'll know when a new episode is ready for you. Please share with others as well. I'm Patrice Sikora, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you for listening to TIAA Simplified. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.safinancialservices.com or give us a call at 913-521-2381. And don't forget to click the follow button so you never miss an episode. S&A Financial Services, Inc. is a registered investment advisor. Content presented is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice or as an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Always consult with your tax advisor or attorney regarding your specific situation.